All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Auto Club Speedway. Thank you for coming out to cover the Auto Club 400 and related activities this weekend. We will start today's media availability with local boy Cole Custer from Ladera Ranch, driver of the number 41 Haas Production Alliance Group Ford, and we will open up the floor for media questions. Please raise your hand. Wait for a wireless mic to get to you and start with your name and affiliation. And Wolfgang looks very eager to get one in. Go for it.
Wolfgang Monser from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. Cole, personal question. Driving now for the Haas team, which has a sister team in F1. Are you maybe curious to find out how is the Formula One drive?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to have the Formula One team, there and everything. It's pretty different, honestly, and I don't know if it's something that is on my radar right now. I'm pretty focused on the, NASCAR and everything, but at the same time, I mean, what those guys do is very impressive, and I think it would be cool to go to a race someday or something.
Did you try already the car?
No.
All right, we'll go up front to Jeff Gluck here, please.
Jeff Gluck from The Athletic. So was last week sort of like your welcome to the Cup Series moment? How did you digest all that in the week afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely want to run a lot better than that. I think, we have cars that are capable of winning, and it's just a matter of trying to figure out all the little differences in the cars, and you try and make your best guess and study as much as you can before the race, and I just guessed wrong. So I think going into it this week, you're able to look at a lot of data and a lot of different things, and I think I've learned a ton since the last week, and it's just a matter of taking advantage of all that and trying to perfect everything as good as you can.
All right, we'll go in the back to Tyler.
Tyler Burnett, MRN. Cole, you mentioned that you have winning cars, and to be a winning car, which would make you a playoff driver, and next week's race at Phoenix is obviously very important because it is the championship race. What is it like? What is it going to be like to go there for the first time with this Cup package, and then also the short track package has changed as well, which might be closer to the Xfinity Series package?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the short tracks. I think the changes that they made probably for the aero side of it is going to help the racing a lot from what it seems like from last year. But at the same time, I mean, it's still going to be a little bit new to me, but it'll be closer to what the Xfinity cars were last year. So I think I'm really looking forward to that and seeing, what the short track package is going to be like. I think it is something that I can probably adapt to a little bit better, just since it's probably going to be a little bit more similar, though.
Steve Post, Motor Racing Network. A little bit of a follow-up, I think, on Jeff's question he had asked about last week. I think I want to take it to expand it. The Cup Series, what have you noticed here in your 2 weeks of running or 2 races of running? What are the significant differences that you've seen between the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series where you were one of the dominant drivers last year?
I think for me, it's getting used to the cars. The cars are a lot different, especially when we go to this 550 package. The way you work the throttle and everything and how you're going to do that is a lot different than the way we did in Xfinity. At the same time, if you make one little mistake or just a little bit off in one area, you're going to lose a ton of spots. I mean, everybody here is pushing it to the limit. I mean, everybody in the top 25 is going, probably capable of winning races. So it's a matter of trying to perfect every little part of it.
Larry Stewart with the Southern California News Group. When you see a wreck like Ryan Newman had at Daytona, and he walks out of the hospital 2 days later, and can you comment about the safety features on these cars and how it makes you feel? Does it make you feel safer? Does it make you feel like you can take more chances? Could you comment on that, please?
I mean, it's definitely pretty amazing that he was able to walk away after 2 days in the hospital. I mean, we're all very thankful for that. But it's just a testament to how far the safety's come in NASCAR, I feel like. I mean, that's about as bad as it gets. And I think, to see him probably make a full recovery is pretty awesome. But at the same time, it kind of probably awakened us again that it is a very dangerous sport and things can happen. So it's just a matter of making sure that, we take advantage of all the safety innovations that we've had and try and make sure all our stuff's right.
Lee Spencer, RacingVoice.com. Good morning, Cole.
Good morning.
What's been the biggest kind of come up and since you've gone to the Cup Series, and what did you learn last week at Las Vegas that might transfer over to Atlanta?
I mean, honestly, it's just this 550-50 package is probably what I've learned the most about, is just how you're going to want to work the throttle, how you're going to want to work traffic. I mean, just everything. I think, you can look at so much data now with the SMT and all the different stuff that we have there. I mean, it's every single aspect of the race. You can look at stuff. So I think coming back this weekend, it's just a matter of trying to perfect all those little areas because, like I said, if you're just a little bit off in one area, I mean, you're going to get eaten up. So it's just a matter of trying to perfect all those.
In Atlanta, did you learn something at Las Vegas? I know the two tracks, they're intermediate, but they're different. Is there something you're going to be able to take when we go to Atlanta that you might have learned at Las Vegas?
Some. I mean, it's still, it's the 550 package. It's a 1.5 mile racetrack, but at the same time, one's really wore out and one's not really wore out. So it's just, there's a good amount of differences, but at the same time, I think our package will be pretty much similar from race to race.
Hey, Cole. Cole Cusimano, Popular Speed. What's going through your mind coming to your home track for the first time in the Cup Series, driving for Stewart Haas Racing? And I guess, what are your expectations for this weekend?
I guess for me, I mean, I want to go out there and be competitive, and, that's all you want as a race car driver. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I won here last year. I think it's a track I've always felt really comfortable at. Usually the wore-out, bigger racetracks are always better for me. But at the same time, you got to put as much effort and preparation as you can into it, and I think that's what we've done this week. It's just a matter of trying to perfect it when we're out there.
Go for it. Hey, Cole, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
Lighten up a little bit. On your off time, when you can find some off time, what do you do, man?
I mean, it's just trying to hang out with your friends, I guess, is the biggest thing for me. I think, I'll go golf. I'm not a good golfer, but I'll go do it. And, I mean, you go on the lake, we have Lake Norman right there in Charlotte. But, I mean, overall, it's just whatever you can do to be with your friends and just, hang out for a little bit, I guess.
Steve Post again from Motor Racing Network. Cole, as you dropped into an established Cup team with Kevin, with Clint, with Eric, as you go through the debriefs, what's the process of learning that if Kevin says this, it means this for me and Eric? And are there similarities that you're learning between you and maybe one of your teammates? Had you done much with those guys in the past? You were with the same team, but in the different series. Just what's that process like as you try to glean from those guys?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, I've talked a lot with Kevin. I mean, obviously, he's run a good amount of Xfinity stuff, and I tried to talk, especially my rookie year in Xfinity, I talked with him every single week, just trying to get an idea of what to expect going to the track and everything. So I'm just trying to do that this year also, trying to talk with them as much as I can. And also, Clint and Eric have been very helpful also, in any kind of meeting we have. I think if I have any questions, they've been, extremely helpful. And I have some of the best teammates out there, so if I can get any kind of advice, it's going to help me. But, I mean, at the same time, if you ask 4 people, you're probably going to get 4 different answers. So it's trying to kind of filter through and what everybody means. And sometimes somebody can say something different but mean the same thing. So it's just a matter of trying to understand all of it and see how it works for you.
All right, do we have any last questions for Cole? All right, well, thank you for your time today.
Thank
Good
you.
luck this weekend. Today, joined by Joey Logano, driving the number 22 AAA Southern California Ford. We're going to open the floor for questions. Please raise your hand and wait for the wireless mic. We'll start in the back with Steve.
Steve Post, Motor Racing Network. Joey, with all the changes at Penske Racing, how important is it, not only for you and Paul, to understand each other? We can talk all about the understanding, and he sounds good. How important is it to hoist a trophy together and start things off like that?
I think it's key. To be able to come out of the gates as strong as we have, with the winning a duel, which is good, but ultimately coming in and winning, a real points-paying race in Vegas was nice. I look at all 3 Team Penske cars all being very strong out there, which was great, and it kind of shows that this change. Although, yes, it's a pretty big change internally, but not everyone has to relearn the whole system at Team Penske. Right? Everyone kind of knows who answers to who and what department does what, and all that stuff internally. Everyone understands that the only thing they're learning is really their new driver. And if you have a question, that guy's sitting right next to you in that office that used to be that driver's crew chief. So, the transition's gone pretty smooth. And I thought the speed in our cars last week kind of showed that. And I also think there's still a lot of room for improvement, which makes me confident about the length of the runway ahead of us. So, nice to get the win for sure. No matter what season it is, whether we've worked together for 10 years or 1 year. But just grabbing that win early, build some confidence up, obviously, in the change that happened within the team. I think that's a big deal. And, it's all about collecting as many playoff points at this point and trying to set ourselves up in the best we can for when the playoffs start.
Justin Schuler kicking the tires. Joey, congratulations on last weekend, obviously. Talking with the Xfinity drivers just a few minutes ago, but a lot of them are worried about the seams on this track. How do you approach that?
Better pick a lane and stick to it. That's how this place works. The seams here are they're very wide, and then they have that sealer in there, and that sealer is not really grippy at all. And what you see a lot of times is cars get kind of stuck on the seams. What I mean is you kind of see these cars take a big arc down in the corner, and then they get to that last seam they need to cross, and it's just, it stops, and you don't get there. And that's where a lot of passes are made, when someone misses the bottom, and the car behind them is able to make the bottom, and then they're able to make a pass that way. So you just got to be smart when you cross them, especially even leaving two. You cross over them so quick that your car really just wants to take off. So, seams are tough. They're tough. They've been there for a while, though, and it gives this place plenty of character to try to work around. This place has more, little details like that a driver and team needs to overcome more than maybe any other track we go to when it comes to bumps, seams, the surface wearing out, different lines. It's really hard to practice here and know what you need for the race and what lanes you're going to be racing. So it's definitely been one of those races that experience has played a key role in being good in the race.
Come over to Jim.
Jim Peltz of the LA Times. Joey, you're one of several top drivers who have never won this race in a dozen or more tries. Why is it so hard to win here?
Boy, I wish I knew. We've been so close. We've had solid runs. We're consistently in the top 5 here last few times, and been close multiple times. Leading on the last lap one time, just been right there. Just haven't crossed the line first yet. So there's just so many different things that go to it. I still look at it as one of our best racetracks, even though we don't have a win. I still think it's a great racetrack for us. Been very, very close. Just like I said, everything's got to line up perfectly, and we've been close, but just haven't cut it yet.
We're going to go Lee, Tyler, then Jeff.
LeeSpencerRacingBoys.com. Blaney stayed in a teepee this past week. Is that something you could ever envision yourself doing?
Blaine did what?
Stayed in a teepee.
He stayed in a teepee.
Yes.
No, I will never do that. No, I'm a city slicker, as they call them. I like a nice bed and air conditioning and a nice pillow. I like that. Yeah, not for me. Nope, he can go camping or do whatever the heck he did. That's good. I'm glad he had fun, though. That's good.
And as far as, you and Paul and getting acclimated, how important is it to get off to putting a good notebook together when you get to Phoenix next week, since that race will decide the championship?
Yeah, I think everyone looks at, Phoenix 1 now being maybe the most important race, especially early in the season, because it's going to be where you're racing for a championship possibly. So you need to, really learn as much as possible. You want to have a strong run there. You want to learn from your mistakes there more than anywhere. Make sure you're clear about everything when you're done with the race, and definitely one of those tracks that you'll spend more time afterwards dissecting on, every little piece of it, because that's what's going to be, the biggest race of the year. So understanding where we made mistakes will be important.
Tyler Burnett, MRN, as a follow-up on that from Phoenix next week, will the track condition change at all knowing that this is so early in the year at Phoenix and then it's going to be late in the year for the championship?
A little bit, but, there's so many things that are unknown there, as far as, what's the track prep going to look like? Is there tire dragons? Is there PJ1? That's going to adjust the track quite a bit from that standpoint, and how that's going to be, I don't know. And then, the weather itself, it affects the track some as well, but I think more the track prep than anything will affect the way the race plays out.
Jeff Gluck from The Athletic. As far as I know, nobody's tested the short track version of this package, right? So how do you guys know what to expect and go into that race with?
That's a good question. I think honestly, I think a lot of it is you're just going back to 2018. Will a race like that? Probably. I would assume less downforce, less grip promotes cars moving around the racetrack more. So you'll see, I think in the long run, cars running higher, which you already kind of saw a little bit of that, especially with the track prep up there. But you're going to probably see cars move around more. We have not restarted there with the small spoilers with where I don't believe we have. No, we did, with the new start-finish line. So I guess I'll have to go back and rewatch some of that to understand that a little bit. You're getting ahead of me here. But I think that's I think it's going to calm down some of the restarts a little bit, but I think it's going to also make the racing throughout the run better. That's kind of my thoughts, at least to start.
Hey, Joey. Cole Cusimano, Popular Speed. So similar to last week, both you and Paul have personal success at Fontana. Having that blend of success, has it made the transition between crew chiefs any easier or stress-free for you?
Yeah, I think kind of the bottom line is that we've both have had success, at Team Penske in different ways, right? We've won different races, but we've both won championships. We've both run, a good amount of races. So it's just kind of taking the best from each and trying to figure out what makes us strongest from there. And that's been kind of the fun part, is that obviously we look at our weaknesses and how to make those better, but we're, more than anything, kind of right now saying, hey, here's the three things that I'm really good at. Here's the three things that Paul's really good at. And let's try to mold those together to make a powerhouse team that we're trying to produce right now.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. Kind of along the lines of some of these other questions. So what's more important about next week? Is it the fact that it's the first race with kind of the revised short track package, or it's the race where the championship will be decided?
Probably the race that's a championship that's going to be decided there. There'll be plenty to learn about the short track package as well. We'll be taking it all in the equation, but I mean, like we said, the facts are. I mean, you think about the way Miami was. We only raced there once a year. You imagine if you got to race there in the spring, what it would be like when you got there at the fall. How much more preparation you would have and thought you would have after running that race. In this case, we kind of get, I wouldn't call it a warm-up race because it's something that's very important still, but it is something that you're able to try something, thinking about the future quite a bit. The only thing about it is there's so much time in between the races. I mean, you got a long ways till we get back there in November, so yeah, we'll learn a lot about the race, but our cars will change a lot by the time we come back, to where some things won't apply as much, but there will definitely be a lot that transfers still. Yep.
Kathy Brown, pitting outside the box. I don't think anybody's asked you this yet. In light of everything that happened in Vegas with Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick putting the bounty down to go out there and race him, we have two Chevy drivers that have kind of stepped up and agreed to race Kyle in different races. Has the Ford Performance Group or Ford Performance drivers gotten together to decide who's going to throw their hat in the ring, maybe with Thor Sport or DGR Crossley prepared trucks to go against Kyle?
I haven't been much talk about it, to be honest with you. Been just kind of focused in on winning Cup races and beating them over here. Those ones seem to pay the most, so we try to focus over here.
If the opportunity presented itself,
I would be interested in it. Yeah, if the opportunity sat there in front of me, I would definitely take a look at it and think about doing it. Obviously, you want to make sure you have the best chance possible to go out there and have a fair shake at it. But like I said, right now, with the change that we've had, there's been a lot of time focused on getting used to our new teams over here at Team Penske, trying to align all that. So our focus has been over there, as we feel that's most important. I love the idea, though. I love the idea that Kevin threw out there to do this. It gets everyone talking about the truck series and what that's about. And you get the best of the best out there with them. It'll be kind of fun to watch. I think it draws so much attention to it, right? I mean, you would never ask me a question about a truck race if it wasn't if that didn't happen. So, kudos to Kevin for doing that and doing it for charity even better. I like it. I love the idea. If the opportunity was there, I would probably take a look at it, but I haven't been searching at this point. Yep.
Hey, Joey, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Last time I saw you, we were in Long Beach. This is Joe Britt, Gotcha Racing TV. Question, how does it feel to be a superstar, man? Two-part.
I don't know if I'm quite the superstar. I'm just a race car driver that a few people in this room want to talk to right now, which is good. I want to keep it that way. But I don't know if I feel like I'm quite a superstar by any measure.
And the next part, can you eat in peace, man, when you go out?
Uh-huh.
You can?
Oh, yeah.
Without people bombarding you with sign this and sign that and whatever?
I went to Red Robin last night. Everything was smooth. Everything was good.
We're going to close with
I
Steve.
sat in traffic for 2 hours from LA to here, and I was hungry, and that was the only place we found. So,
Steve Post and then Wolfgang.
Joey, I'll qualify this by saying I've never driven a race car, okay? What is there about the little seams in these wide corners? Why does such a small portion of the track create, and I think I understand what you talked about coming down and hooking them, but the slippery nature of it and everything, what is there about such a small portion of this track that can have such a huge impact on these cars?
yeah, it's a good question. So the seams are 4 inches or so wide, maybe even wider in a lot of cases. And our tires aren't that wide. So you think about, you're losing a lot of your grip on it. I don't know if you guys have ever walked on the racetrack here, but if you find the seams, you can stick your finger right through the sealer. It's really soft and kind of squishy, and honestly, I don't know how it even works, but I guess it does. But you can tell that there is going to be way less grip on it just by touching it. And so when you have, a fairly narrow tire going across something that, is 4 to 6 inches long, you're losing the majority of your grip. So you just kind of get stuck on them to where you can't get lower in the corner. So you almost just got to bail and get above it, to where you can get your right sides back on asphalt. So, that's usually what it is. And there's just so much of it. We talk about the seams and the sealer, in between each lane. But if you look at, 3 and 4 in particular, in the second and third lanes, there's a lot of sealer just going across the racetrack. And that's what makes those lanes even, very challenging as well. So, like I said, the experience of knowing how to deal with that stuff and knowing what you can and can't do because of what's coming up ahead of you, that's the important part here.
All right, close with Wolfgang.
Joey, you just said earlier, if I understood it correctly, when you're going back to Phoenix in November, when the championship will be decided, the cars will be different. Why is that? In principle, you cannot run the same package like you run next week in case the weather conditions are similar or identical?
Just how we evolve as a race team. What wins there in the spring will not win there when you get back in the fall because everyone got better. So you have to be willing to change. And, we think about all the 750 rules package races that will be in between the first Phoenix and the second Phoenix race. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot, and we're going to get better. And every other team will too. So it's just evolving like anything else in this world right now. You just kind of figure more out. You learn something new every day.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time, Joey.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Joey, I like your style, man.
Thanks.
All right, our next press conference will begin right now with Kyle Busch. This weekend, he's driving the number 18 Interstate Batteries Toyota. We're going to go ahead and open up the floor for media questions. Please wait for the wireless mic. We'll go Lee, then Wolfgang.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. Looking ahead to Phoenix, where you have an average finish at 2.88 in the last 9 races. How do you look at that going there with a new package, and how do you look at it, how what you're going to learn next week translates to the championship race?
Yeah, I look forward to Phoenix. It's always fun. The place is a good place for us, and lately we've been able to really kind of pick up on some things that help us there that have made us better there the last few times, and now this package is different. So that's, I think, going to lend itself back into, a couple years ago, I guess, and felt like that we were just kind of hitting on something there, and was a bit racier through traffic and such. So we'll see how all that goes. But yeah, next week's a big week on trying to formulate that notebook and try some things, have some ideas, some concepts maybe that you wouldn't normally do to kind of just get out of the way and utilize your time as much as you can for the championship when you come back.
Kyle, after Ryan's accident in Daytona, was there an internal meeting with the Cup drivers to create maybe new ideas to improve the safety even more?
I was not a part of any internal meetings.
Come up here to Jeff.
Jeff Glove from The Athletic. You guys get any sort of answers or anything on last week? I mean, you were concerned before the race, practice, and then you guys didn't run that well. Any optimism for this week?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at last year, look at Vegas, I guess, as a trend of the last few years, besides Martin kind of being the anomaly. JGR cars haven't really run well at Vegas for a while, but you come to California here, and we're always one of the guys that are up front, cars that are to beat. So I don't look at this week as being too worrisome for us. It's going to be nice to hopefully come out of here with a good run, be able to run up front, maybe win like we did last year. And that would certainly be really good for then getting into Phoenix with the different package.
Bob?
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. What are your thoughts on the bounty now that Chase and Kyle have gotten rides for it?
Yeah, it's all good. I think it's going to be interesting, exciting, whatever you want to term it. I guess Cup drivers in Truck Series do sell tickets, so take that for what it's worth. I think it's a unique opportunity for more attention on the series, which is good. Maybe if more drivers had more teams than had rides, then there would be something else there besides just myself. But I don't remember who I told, but it was, once Harvick kind of put the idea out there, I was like, the guy that's really, really, really going to have a shot is going to be Larson and Homestead. So bring it on.
Tyler?
Tyler Burnett, MRN. It seems like you've been kind of like 50-50 on the bounty just because it can be manipulated if someone moves you out of the way. But at the same time, it is good for the series and a series that you care about, like you said on Barstool's podcast. So do you feel like it's going to be good for that series to have something like that, especially starting in Atlanta next week?
I mean, it's, I don't know how to term it any differently than what I just said. So I think it's going to be good for the series. It's brought a whole new chatter to it, whether that's excitement or just chatter. I'm not sure which. I think we'll see when we get to Atlanta what the grandstands look like and how the race goes.
Come to the other side of the room here, Justin.
Justin Schuler, Kicking the Tires. Kyle, you're going to be inducted into the track's local Walk of Fame. Tell us what that means to you to be inducted into a local track Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool that they do that for all the former winners here. Every year they do this deal out there where, we put I don't remember if it's our hands or our feet. I think it's feet, but you do that into the concrete, so it's kind of cool. Fans get a chance to kind of check that out over the years. I think it's just kind of like a little bit of a memory lane, if you will, and it's nice to be a part of it now for, I guess, my fourth time.
Well, and to go on top of that, too, this race last year was your 200th win, getting on top of the car, waving the big flags. So this one probably just a little bit more special than the rest, maybe?
Wins are wins.
Reed.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire. If Chase happens to beat you in Atlanta, is the bounty over at that point in the Truck Series?
Ask Kevin Harvick.
Come up here to Kathy,
I don't know what the rules
please.
are. I don't set the rules.
Do we have any other questions for Kyle? Wow, all right. Well, we got Bob and then Jeff, please.
Is next week at Phoenix more important because it's the first race with kind of the new aero rules for short tracks this year, or because it's the championship race site?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's twofold. Obviously it's because it's the first race of that lower downforce package, if that's what we call it, and people are going to want to know what to expect in the upcoming races with that. And then I also look at it as, of course, it's important. Everybody's going to feel like it's important because everybody probably right now feels like they have a shot to make the Final Four because it's so early in the season. So there should be an added emphasis by people to go out there and learn a few things, try a few things, and get themselves ready for the end of the year, being at the final race.
All right, we have to close with Jeff here.
How do you think this race will play out on Sunday? I'm sure you watched last year's or something. What do you think? Will it be similar?
I have no idea, man. I'd like it to be a cakewalk for the 18 and nobody's within the vicinity, but that's not always exciting. So, the Interstate Batteries Camry here last year was really, really fast. I think Truex was a little bit better in the final run, but we had much of the guys covered throughout the race. And there in the final run, we were just as good, and we were able to hold everybody off. So I can't say what's going to happen this time around. There's been a year's worth of development on everybody's side to get to this point. So it could be a completely different race, but I'd like to hope not.
All right, thanks a lot for your time, Kyle.
Yep.
Hell of a run, dude. Hell of a run.
Hello.
You ready?
Yes.
All right, we are joined by Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Ally Chevrolet. We'll go ahead and open up the floor to questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you. Start with Wolfgang.
Jimmy, over here, Wolfgang from Germany. Actually, I have two questions. Number one, when you made the decision that's your last season, can you describe your feeling? Was it strange, a little bit painful? And the second question, I think shortly before this year's Daytona 500, there were some information on various internet pages that we maybe see you next year in a different kind of racing like IMSA or IndyCar. How realistic is that?
On the first part, I was looking for some feeling to really back up whichever direction I went. If I was going to extend and sign up through 23 with Ally at HMS or move on. And the feeling of moving on just brought energy and excitement, and I knew in my heart then that it was time, and to kind of lead into your second question, this is really about balancing out life. I've been in the NASCAR garage area for this is my 21st year, including my Xfinity days, and I feel really good in my heart with what I've accomplished and where I'm at. I certainly have a lot I want to prove this year, and certainly hope to have the ultimate happen, but I do want to continue to race, and I am interested in other cars and other series. And we'll see where this year leads and what comes around and what options I might have in 21 and beyond. But I wouldn't rule out coming back for the right situation here in Cup. I wouldn't rule out road courses in IndyCar. I wouldn't rule out IMSA or the WEC Series, off-road racing. I really have a long bucket list that I want to start checking some boxes on, even down to running the New York City Marathon, some mountain bike races I want to do. I just want to balance some stuff out. I feel like I've got at least 5 more really good years, and I feel very satisfied with what I've done on a full-time basis here, and I want to get out and explore and live a little bit.
What about Formula E? You listen to this as well?
I would be open to it. I don't have any contacts there and haven't had any conversations on that side, but if it's got wheels on it, I'm interested. And I'd even try racing a boat, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't have to have wheels. Definitely not going to race airplanes or helicopters, but I'd consider a boat.
Go ahead. Sorry. Right behind you. Yep.
Justin Schuler, Kicking the Tires. Jimmie, what were your thoughts when you found out Chandra and Genevieve and Lydia are going to be waving the green flag?
Just really excited for it. This year we're really trying hard to enjoy as much as we can and really take any opportunity that comes our way, and that's certainly a different one for us and for my family. And just very thankful the track came to us with that suggestion and is willing to get my family up there in the stands. So I think pre-race is going to be full of emotions. They'll have a chance to come across the stage with me and be introduced with their responsibilities, being a part of the 5 wide saluting at the front of the field, and then seeing those hands up there in the flag stand going by is going to be pretty awesome.
Jerry wants to know if you're going to wave when you go by.
Hands might be full, but I doubt it. I'll definitely be smiling though.
I'm up front here.
Kathy Brown, pitting outside the box. Looking at your career in its totality, if you could go back and tell Jimmie Johnson making his first start one thing, what would be that one thing that you would tell him, given what you know now?
It's going to be okay. It's going to turn out. I know I say that, and then I kind of don't know if I would tell myself anything, because my own insecurities and wondering how I fit in the sport, wondering if I was going to survive in the sport, all those things led to my work ethic and discipline and drive, and helped create the opportunities that came for me. It's interesting now that I'm later in my career, the connection I have with the fans. That's something that I've lacked in my earlier years, and certainly when I was winning championships in a row and all that stuff. So I don't know how to really, enjoy that piece a bit more or have a deeper fan connection. But from the performance side, the competition side, and everything I've done behind the wheel, I wouldn't change a thing. I think there's more of a fan piece that I wish would have gone a little different during my peak years. But who knows what this year and the future holds? Maybe it's all for a reason as well. I don't know.
Come up to the gentleman up front.
Hey, Jimmie, how you doing?
Good.
Joe Britt, Gotcha Racing TV. With retirement in the wings or coming up to you, has your stress level gone down any? And if so, when you do retire, two-part question, when you do retire, team owner, you thinking about that?
No, definitely not an owner. As a kid, I always wanted, my dream was to take my helmet anywhere and drive anything. Tony Stewart and some of these other guys, well, Tony's hard to use an example, but other guys have always wanted to be a team owner and own their own equipment. That's just never been in the cards for me. My dream was to show up anywhere, anytime, and race anything. So I want to do that as I move on to this next phase of life and racing. What was the first part? Stress level. Oh, it's higher, no doubt. Having a year to still race. I think the way Carl Edwards did it was involved the least amount of stress. You just show up at a press conference one day, it's over, answer a few questions, you walk away. To have a full year to plan out and a full year to, in my opinion, enjoy, and I'm very thankful that I've chosen this path, but there's a lot that goes into it, and my office would say the same. Stress is higher than normal. And then the competition side's still there, so that stress never goes away. We've just added other stress. Yeah.
Hey, Jimmie. Cole Cusimano, Popular Speed. So obviously a really special place for you here, Fontana. Given your success and all the tributes going on this weekend, where would a win here this weekend rank for you in your 80-plus wins?
Man, it'd be insane. Home track, first win. I mean, you could just go down the list of meaningful talking points that could come out of it. So the way last weekend went and the speed that we had in our Hendrick cars, the way mine drove, very optimistic about this weekend, and it'd just be incredible to pull that off if we could.
Go to Lee.
Lee Spencer, RacingVoice.com. Just curious how much, I guess, momentum you got from last weekend's finish, because it was a solid run. I mean, the seas kind of parted, but it's still a good run. I mean, what do you and Cliff, how do you guys take that and kind of build on that finish?
Yeah, for me, I think we just take a deep breath after that performance, and it's more than the finish. We ran in the top 10 and top 5 most of the day. So, and the car honestly responded well to adjustments through the weekend. So with all the new things we have this year going on, it was really just a deep breath, like, all right, we're in a way better place than we were leaving Vegas last year at this time. So it's just a relief, and we know we still have a ton of work ahead, but we're not, we're not panicked, or we're not overly stressed about what we have in front of us. We can just be calm and relaxed and get to work. Yep.
Bob?
I'm Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. Since it is your home track, do you have like any high school friends or teachers or anybody from your youth coming this weekend?
Yeah, there's a bunch of friends coming this weekend from hometown, LA friends, people just on the West Coast, friends on the West Coast. So I have a big suite up above us somewhere that's going to be socked full of friends and people having a good time.
Tyler Burnett, MRN, back here. Hi, Jimmie. It seems like drivers who come from the Southwest really admire the Phoenix Raceway, and it was something that they grew up knowing that that was kind of the goal to achieve, to race, in the Copper World Classic. Do you have memories of going there if you did younger, or what kind of Phoenix memory sticks out most in your career?
Yeah, I think when you go back through the years, it's really stood the test of time, and you've had all forms of car racing come through, all the big divisions. So as a kid, your memories still last. Those memories are still being made at that track. I did attend races at a few other tracks, but most of them are gone and aren't even around. So I'm glad that Phoenix has stood the test of time and will be around for a long, long time. For me, my first time there was for an off-road race. My dad was a mechanic on an off-road buggy, and they used the infield to put on an off-road race. So that was my first time there. I can recall going in the mid-'90s when I was a driver for Chevrolet and their off-road trucks. The truck series, NASCAR Truck Series, was just coming along, and I thought I had my big moment to drive one. I was giving rides in the morning prior to the race in a two-seat truck. So I remember going there with great excitement and optimism to drive on the asphalt for the first time. So I do have some early memories going there and watching. But the first time I ever raced there was, I guess, the Busch Series in 2000.
Jim Peltz of the LA Times. Here, Jimmie. So many drivers, so many of your peers have never won here despite 12, 15 attempts. And to do it 6 times, I mean, besides your skill, what would you attribute that to?
This is such a team sport, and I think the last 2 years have proved to me more than anything just how important each individual is on the team, the manufacturer's significance in them being at the peak of their performance, and the organization you drive for. And I came in as an unknown driver and was able to, my timing worked out where team, manufacturer, and organization was all at its peak, and I was able to ride that wave for a long time. So I really attribute my success to the timing of those 4 key pieces being in the right spot. So it's timing and people, honestly.
Sorry for being a little late. The mural outside, how cool is that mural? How neat is that mural, and what does it signify to you? Its significance?
Super cool. I was just out there and took some pictures with it, and the artist did an amazing job, and to come to my home track and to see the effort that they put in to kind of honor me and my career means a lot to me, really does. The things that are happening pre-race, there's a ticket package that's sold very well. I just feel a ton of support coming from my hometown track and the fans here in the area, so it's really neat.
Can you tell me about that day in 2002 when you came here and won your first race, your first race? Can you give me just a little bit about what that day was like for you? Do you remember it at all?
Oh yeah, that's the day I knew I was going to be employed. Jeff Gordon handed me all of his championship equipment from the year before, and they told me they'd be patient and I had time, but I, in my heart, didn't think that was the case, and I knew I needed to win. So to leave here with a trophy meant that I'd have a job for a few years, and I was pretty stoked about that.
Kind of a generic question, but how important for me is it for the whole Southern California region? How important is NASCAR for the people of SoCal and the fans of NASCAR?
Yeah, I believe NASCAR is really important for Southern California, but I'd even flip it and say that Southern California, or California in general, is really important for NASCAR. I think there's 6 drivers now from the state of California that are in the top division. I know at one point in time there were 9, and more drivers from California than any other state. And clearly it was much more of a regional sport, and if you didn't grow up in stock cars in the South, you really didn't get a chance in NASCAR. And Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart really kind of paved the way for the rest of us. And as we all know, there is a ton of racing here in the area and a lot of talent in the car, mechanics, the engineering side, all of it. There's just a lot of racing around here. So to see racing have its impact in the South and in NASCAR, I think is super cool.
We're going to go to the back. I'm sorry.
Yes, Larry Stewart from the Southern California News Group. Cole Custer was sitting up there a few minutes ago, another Californian, a rookie. What would your advice as a seasoned veteran about to retire to a rookie, another Californian, by the way?
Ironically, I was in the back of a pickup truck with him at Vegas for the lap around before the race started after driver intros, and he kind of asked me that question. And we were looking forward at the track, and I pointed at the track and said, this stuff out here, that's the easy part. It's what you've been doing. Trust your instincts. Trust everything you've done to get here. That's the easy part. It's the rest. It's the stuff outside of the car that a young Cup driver just isn't used to. There's a lot of stress that comes with all the things outside of the car that, honestly take a few years to adapt to and get ready. Yeah, you damn media people. That's certainly one. No, and I mean, it just depends. I mean, it could be media, it could be friends, it could be family, it could be finances, it could be sponsors. I mean, there's just so much. And when you're a young aspiring driver, all you do is worry about seat time and your race car in the race tracks. When you get to this level, it's a big business, and there's a lot of stuff outside of it that you just haven't had a lot of reps with. And some people can balance that well. Others, when you pull them away from the car and away from the competition side, everybody reacts a little different to that. And that's the hardest part I felt, was transitioning from even only from a Saturday show to a Sunday show. The amount of work that's expected of you at the Cup level and the professionalism required, the sponsors, the meet and greets, all the stuff that go with it, it's time, at least times 5, if not times 10, for what you experience on the Saturday shows.
That's all the time we have for questions. Jimmie, thank you. Before we let you go, I would like to introduce Auto Club Speedway President Dave Allen.
Hi, Jimmie. Hey, surprising me again.
I have one question. What is the term too hip?
Too hip. That is my mentor, Rick Johnson, is what that is.
Did you have any riding pants or anything like that?
I did. I was Too Hip Junior for the longest time.
Too Hip Junior?
Yep. Or Hip 2 Junior, 2 Hip Junior, one of the two.
Well, first of all, we had a few minutes to talk a little while ago, and I apologize for crashing your media availability here, but obviously we have a lot of things happening here. First of all, welcome everybody to Auto Club Speedway in Southern California. We're excited to have you all back, and of course this guy right here, old six time for us. A lot of people call you 7 time, but 6 time for us.
Win 7 here.
I think that'd be a great way to go out. What do you get? What do you get somebody like Jimmie Johnson? So I had a little help from our friend at Troy Lee Designs, Troy.
Awesome.
And of course Ricky as well. So I understand that you have most of the gear that you've ever won since you were this big.
I do.
To this big. I'm not sure you have this. I've heard reports maybe you don't. So I'm hoping this strikes a chord with you. This is actually a Moto 3 helmet that Troy was able to find at his house and repaint in the library that you might recognize.
Wow.
So on behalf of the track and all of our race fans here, just a small token of the appreciation that we have for you, and look forward to seeing what you do in the future. It says, JJ, thanks for the memories. Stay on the gas.
That is incredible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So just a backstory, I'm trying to remember, so we're talking 80, maybe 82 or 83. Rick Johnson was sponsored by Yamaha and then sponsored me on 50s, 60s, and 80s. And I remember the helmet, and I have a picture of me at Speedway 117 in Chula Vista, laying on my bike, and this helmet is somewhere in the photo, but this, it's like Wednesday night races we used to have there. There's a sprint car track, and they'd build a motocross track in the infield, and that's where we would go ride and race on the weekends, or the weekdays.
We found a picture of you with this on, and from behind, and then Ricky was actually standing in front of you talking to you about it. So that's what awesome. Troy had.
Oh, I know that photo's from Verona Oaks.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a riding school out there. I have that picture framed too. Yep, absolutely.
Well, Troy's he's coming this weekend. He couldn't be here today, but
that's incredible. Thank you.
Hope you enjoy it.
Super cool.
So, stay on the gas.
Thank
we want to see you racing something else.
Loud pedals on the right.